Hi everybody, Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. I'm getting ready to make a couple of small little notebooks for friends for their birthdays, and I thought I would do it as a craft with me. So I wanted to show you what I was planning to do. So I have some papers set aside, and they're going to be, I want them to be small so that they can fit in, you know, your purse or something like that. I actually want them to be about this size. So this is about 6 by 4. So that's kind of the size I'm going for. And I want to make sure that it has some pockets and things like that for them to put whatever they want in, receipts, bits of paper, pictures, whatever they want in there. So the pages I know are going to need to be 8 by 6, so that when we fold them in half, we'll have our 6 by 4 size for the pages. And so you can see for this one, I kind of have some blue, yellow, and green going on here. And I've cut down about 4 inside pages that are patterned. And then I also have 4 just plain white papers to mix in there. And then I also wanted to do a page with some pockets on the inside. So I have some more cardstock, same thing, cut down 6 by 8, and then I have just a little strip, and this is 2.5 by 8, and I'm going to sew this on to make the pocket, which I'll show you when we get to that. And then I'm doing a second one as well. This one has some different colors in it, but I have 2 different girlfriends that had birthdays, and I wanted to get those done. So, and this is what the cover is going to look like, and I'm going to walk you through that because what I wanted to do was create a little bit of a folio that had pockets on the outside cover as well. So when I put this all together, you'll see that these are going to be pockets on the either side that you can slip things in. So we'll go through how I did that in just a moment here. So I'm going to put those aside, all the inside pages aside for a second, and we'll kind of go through what I did to get the cover going. So for the cover, I needed to start with a still the same width. So it's going to be 8 wide. Let me pull out the cover again real quick. So it started 8 wide, you know, just like we had done with all of our pages. But it's going to be 11 inches long so that we can create these little fold up pockets that we're going to make. So I'm going to cut this one down. This is for the second cover here. And we're going to do 11 inches. And then we're going to do 8 inches. So 11 by 8. And this is a pretty sturdy cardstock. It has some glitter on it. It's nice and sturdy for the cover. I think it'll be good. Okay, so from here, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark some fold marks on it so I know where to fold and cut. So let me get my folding thing out here. Okay, so the first mark I want to make is our 6-inch mark, so that we know we want the length, or I'm sorry, the height of the notebook to be 6 inches. So I'm going to mark a 6-inch mark right here. So this is where we're going to fold up. And you'll notice that the rest of this then is just 5 inches. So when we fold that up, which I'll go ahead and do right now, and you can see, we have 1 inch left over. And then what I also want to do is I'm going to mark the middle fold as well. That'll at least give us a starting point. So we have an 8-inch wide cover. I'm going to mark it. Ooh, that didn't work. I'm going to mark it down at 4 and hopefully not go off the rails. Okay. So then this one, when we fold it, I'm just going to fold it flat here to make sure I have a nice edge. Okay. So then you can see as we go here, the cover is going to be this way. So now what I'm going to do is make these little flaps here. And I just kind of did my own little template. I sort of did a trial by error kind of thing. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to mark, let me see if I can remember what I did here. I believe it was 3.5 inches in, actually 3 1/4. Okay, so on the small side, on the 5-inch side, I'm gonna mark a 3 1/2 inch score mark just up to our bottom fold line. So on the smaller side, I'm gonna go 3 1/4, and I'm only gonna mark it until we get, and this is really just to mark where I'm gonna be cutting. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. From the outside in, mark that 3 1/4 inch mark. So 1, 2, 3 1/4. Oops, boy, I'm really having trouble here today. There we go. Now this whole piece that's in the middle is gonna be cut out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So we'll show you that first. And actually, before I do that, I want to make 2 more marks so I know where things go. I'm going to make a 1-inch mark also on, I'm going to turn this back this way, a 1-inch mark all the way down. Man, I think this paper, because of all the glitter, is causing some problems there. But a 1-inch mark all the way down, so that's going to be the top. So even though we cut this 5 inches, I wanted to have enough room to make a little flat mark there. So that's why I did that. And then we're also going to need to make another mark, but I'll do that after I cut the middle out, and you'll see what I'm doing. So you can do this, certainly do this with scissors if you'd like. I'm just going to do it on my straight edge here because I trust myself better with that. So I'm just going to mark right up to my bottom fold line. So I'm not going past the bottom there as best I can. And same with this one, just like that. And then I'm going to take that little middle piece out. Let me line this up first. And if I have to use my razor on it, I will. Oh, look, it came right out. So there you go. Okay, so now I'm going to leave this out because we're going to need this again. But now you can see our pockets are starting to take shape here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to mark a 2 1/2 inch line from the middle sides up. So I'm going to use my little cutting mat here, and I'm going to line this up with my corners here. And I'm going to mark 1, 2 1/2 inches right there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, 2 1/2 inches. So then what we're going to do is we're going to cut a diagonal from that 2 1/2 inch mark up to the corner. So this is a little tricky because you're going to have to do it with the paper all over the place. So I'm going to line up my wire, my guide wire, with the very edge of the mark, the edge of the paper on the edge of the mark. And then make sure the corner is lined up as well, so it'll go straight off the corner. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Line up the corner and my 2 1/2 inch mark. And cut that off. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just take off 1 inch where I had marked those little score marks for the 1 inch mark, to make it nice and flat across the top. And you could leave them long if you want to. That's entirely up to you. Wow. Did not have a good hold of that. Let's do it this way. There we go. Whoa. All right, let me clean up my mess a little here. And then I'll show you what the next step is. Okay, so our cover's looking pretty good. That's exactly what I wanted. So now I'm going to have my little pockets on the inside. Okay, so now to put the pockets on the inside, I could just glue this side down. And that would leave an opening here for, whatever you wanted to put in there. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little hinge in there so that there's room for more stuff. So what I did was I cut just some white cardstock, and I cut it about 1 inch wide and 4 inches long. And this is going to be my hinge. So, and then I just folded it in half. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this right on the edge and then glue this down right on top, so that when that's in there and you go to put something in, it will give a little. And you can see I did cut down the top of the hinge. I just kind of angled it off so that there's no chance of it sticking out the top. And actually I did cut this a little bit shorter than 4 inches just to be sure, you know, it wasn't competing with the top of my pocket there. So, but before I glue that in, and I'm going to glue that in just a minute, I'm going to get my corner rounder because I do want round corners. So you can see on this one, I rounded all the corners so that it has a different look. So I'm going to round these corners. And don't forget to do your folded one, so make sure these corners are rounded as well, which is harder to do. There we go. Okay, it's perfect. So that's exactly what I wanted. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the pages that I have. Actually, let's glue those hinges in first so you can see what I did there. So let me grab my glue, and I'm using the 3-in-1 beacon glue, and I cut these so that they would go on different sides here with my little angle and everything. And actually I should probably round the corners of my hinge as well so that it'll fit nicely into the booklet there without coming out. Yes. Okay. Good. So we're just going to take a little bit of glue and I'm going to put it right on the hinge, and I'm going to get as close to the corner, as close to the side of the hinge as I can. I probably shouldn't be doing that on top of there. And I'm going to lay this down right on the edge. And we'll just let that set for a minute while I do the other one. Should get my glue pad, probably a better idea. And we'll add some glue here. Same thing. I will put the hinge down right on the edge. And let that set up for a minute. Luckily this glue it dries pretty fast, so I think I can go right back over to my other side, and I will put glue on the other side of the hinge now. Make sure I have enough. Can't see it. And then I will just fold this over so that my pocket lays down nice and even right around the hinge. And then we'll just give that a minute to hold. And there we go. We have our first pocket done. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Get the glue boogies off. Okay. And same thing, fold it right over. Give it a second to hold. But now I didn't have to worry about creating a bottom pocket since we created the fold up. That worked out nicely. And there we have it. There's our cover ready to go. Now I do have to put the other hinge on the other cover. I didn't do that yet. And I do have to fold all the papers. So All right, I'm back, and I wanted to show you, I just finished up folding all the pages for each one of the notebooks here. Folded them all in half and then rounded all the corners. So we've got all of our pages, our full-size pages anyway, ready to go, except for these inner pages. I was going to make pocket pages, so I wanted to kind of show you that real quick before we did that. So these still need to be sewed, and I'm going to do that. And same thing with the other one. I have another little pocket page over here for both of my notebooks. So I am going to sew those, but before I do that, I wanted to show you some of the other pages that I'm going to put in. So I wanted to include some of these glassine bags. I just think they're fun. They add a little bit of different texture and noise. I think that's a neat thing. And then also, I have these little white envelopes that I'm going to be putting in the middle to help hide our binding. So once we start to bind, the ties and everything will be right here, and we'll use this flap to cover up the binding. I saw this on I'm a Cool Mom, and I thought it was a great idea. So we're going to do it in ours as well. So I'll walk you through that when we get there. I did just want to decorate these glassine bags a little bit before we put them in though. And I'm going to put them in sideways. So I'm going to fold them in half, but actually I'm going to cut off the bottom of the bag first. And actually, to see how much we need to cut off there, I think I'm just going to cut off the whole thing, so that when we fold it in half, it'll be a small little page, but each side of the page will have little pockets on the side to tuck things into. So this will go in each one of the books as well. And I'm also going to decorate these bags a little bit, just to add some interest and some fun to them as well. And very simply, all I'm going to do to decorate them is add some washi tape. So I found some washi tapes that I think go with each of the pages, and we're going to add that. So for this one, I got some blues and some beachy animals. That one girlfriend she's a beach person. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some washi tape, and I'm trying to decide which way I want it to go. I'm not sure I want it to go. So if this is a little page, actually maybe up and down might be fun, or lengthwise. All right, I think we're going to do it up and down. So I'm just going to add some pieces, and this is going to be very random, as you can see, and then we're just going to cut it off. And this one has little crabs and different things on it. And you could do this with all the same washi tape if you'd want, or you could even not necessarily go across the whole thing if you don't want to. I kind of like how that looks. And I think I'm going to leave the other side plain, although we could definitely decorate that as well if you wanted to. And then I'm just going to cut the ends off, and hopefully not cut into the bag, which I have been known to do before. Cute, cute, cute. And then after I'm done doing this, I'm going to start putting the pages together so I kind of know what order I want everything in. And then I'm going to finish sewing those pocket pages, and then we'll start binding them. So let's go ahead and do this one since we have it together. Let me find my cover. Oh, I put it over here. Okay, so this is our nice cover with our hinged pockets on the side. And then I'm gonna order the pages on the inside. So, and I'm just gonna start mixing things up. So let me see, my colored pages are there. I'm gonna put this one first. And I may just kind of alternate pages, and I'm gonna put my glassine bag in there in the middle. Is this open? There we go. All right. And then my pocket page, which once again I haven't sewed yet, will go on the middle there. And then we'll have our notebook just like that. So I'm going to decorate the other glassine bag that I have with the other set of washi tape that I brought over for this one. And then I'm going to sew these pages, and then when I come back, we will bind our notebooks together so that they're done. Okay, next part is done. I sewed my pockets onto the middle pages, and I did not trim the edges. And since I love to do junk journaling, I like to leave these most of the time, but these are not so junk journal-ish, so I'm going to just trim them up. All right, so I wanted to be completely honest here. I'm going to tell you something. When I put these together and I had everything in there, I noticed that the middle pages were starting to protrude. So before I sewed and before I am going to bind them, obviously, I went through and I trimmed everything so that, oh, where'd that come from? So that they were a bit more even. And as you can see, they still, you know, are not like smaller. I probably could have cut the cover a little bit bigger to make them, you know, to make the pages not even come out at all. But since I cut them all the same side, they were sort of protruding a little bit. That's what happens when you start stacking up pages. So I just wanted to let you know that, so that I did cut them off, and then I did corner them all, except for that one. A couple of these I missed, it looks like. So I did that before we're gonna sew them all in together. So let me just go through and make sure I have these pages done. It definitely looks like I missed those, re-trimming them. So after I cut them, the rounded corners weren't so round anymore. So I'm just going back through and making sure they're all rounded up again. I thought I got them all, but that's what happens sometimes. And I'm probably gonna have to just go through and make sure I have all this the way that I want it again. That looks much better. And I also realized that I missed the top corner up here on this so that I have 4 rounded corners. Okay, so now let me just make sure I have everything the way that I want it to be. So for this one here, I wanted paper, and then actually I wanted to kind of alternate. And my glassine bag. Color. Okay. So this is how it's going to be once we start getting it bound. Okay, and then the same thing for this one. I did go through and same thing, cut them down a little bit just to make sure that our pockets, our pages didn't stick out. So once again, I'll go through and make sure these are in the order that I want them. My glassine bag. Actually, I think I'm going to move that Since this is a bunch of white pages, that looks better there, I think. Okay, that one's good. And I just want to check where I have the glassine bag on this one. I can't remember if I put it, yeah, did it put it there? I think I'm going to do the same thing with this though. Oops. I'm going to move that there. All right, and then I also just kind of wanted to show you real quick what we're doing with the envelopes. So those are going to go in the middle. And I'm going to leave the flap open and actually bind the notebook in between here so that when we're done, we can glue the flap closed and hide the binding. So now that I have this the way that I want it, and I have everything kind of centered here, I'm going to use some clips to hold everything together right where I want it, so that when we start punching holes and binding, we're not punching where we don't want to punch. Okay. All right, and I'm going to do one at a time. I have 4 binder clips and that's it. So we'll do one at a time here. And I have this sort of cinnamony brown thread that I'm going to use to bind this one. And I'm just grabbing a little telephone book so that when I punch my holes, I won't go through to my mat. Now, I will tell you, you can use an awl. I really want to just get a paper piercer because this awl is so thick at the bottom that it makes really big holes. So right now I'm using a bead reamer. So I've never tried it before, so you'll get to see if it works with me. So I'm just going to kind of hold it closed a little bit so that when I do pierce the paper, I can pierce right through to the outside edge. Yeah, that works pretty good. Now I might have to kind of force my needle through, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so I did one just about in the middle, and then I'm going to do 2 more. I'm going to do one towards the top and one towards the bottom. So you want to keep them inside the envelope. That's the main thing. And I'm just kind of swooshing my piercer through there. And I'm doing about the same thing. I don't think I'm gonna, it's kind of like a file. So I realized I was kind of making some rough edges there. So we won't do that again. All right, let's see if that works. I may have to go back in with the awl, but hopefully this will be enough to get us through what we need to do. All right, so I have some needles here, and I'm gonna take some string, move this out of the way, about 3 times, and I kind of want some long ends. I want to be sure I have really long ends. So I may just go 4 times just to be sure I have enough at the end. Because once we have the ends on and hidden, I am going to put some little charms on. So for this one, I have this little brass key I think would be cute. And for the other one, I have a little ladybug that I'm going to put on. So I'm just going to thread this through. And I'm trying to decide if I should maybe double this. I think maybe I am going to do that to give it a little more weight. So let me try this again. So I'm going to do 3 times, but then I'm going to double that. Maybe even add a little. Scissors. Okay. So I'm still just I'm gonna pull this through. I'm not sure this is gonna do what I think it's gonna do. So if we have to redo this, we will. But let's see. So I'm gonna start, because I want my ends to be in the middle, so I'm going to start in the middle. So I'm just going to go through the middle, and I'm going to leave some of my ends behind here. That's interesting. I got a knot already. Let me fix that. Sorry about that, guys. All right, try this again. Through the middle, leave some ends, and then I'm going to come in through one of the other holes, right back through to the middle. And then I'm going to hold these down, and I'm going to go through the middle hole again. Hoping not to make a knot. So I have these ends here, so I'm going to take a look here. I have these ends here where I started, and then I'm going to come into the middle through the last hole that I haven't done anything with. Now you can see we have all of our ends in the middle, and we're going to tie it. So to tie it, I'm just going to take my needle and slide it under the stitch that I had already made, like so. And now you can see I can just pull it real tight and start making knots. So before I do that, I just want to be sure I have these nice and tight, which I don't. My threads are very confusing, as you can probably see. And of course they're not flat. They don't lay very flat. Okay, just gonna make this a little bit tighter before. There we go. And that's tied again. And you can see I have way too much thread. Too much. But don't worry, we'll cut some of that off. Okay, so now I want to be sure that I'm right side up. So I have my pockets there and my pockets here, because I want my dangle to go at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim some of the edges off that we don't need. I think we're only going to need 2 of them. And then I'm going to put cut my needle out. And then I have these 2 ends that I'm going to use to put my dangle on. So I'm going to stick those right through. And find where I want this to be. So I just kind of want it to hang right to the bottom or so of this, not up in there. So I'm going to start a knot once again. And then I'm going to get my little beading tweezers, because that will help me hold where I want the knot to be. I can get that to work too. All right, so actually I think I want it to be like up here. And I have to go through. This is not as easy as it looks. I know you're probably thinking, well, it doesn't look easy at all. Well, it's not. All right. just going to put a couple more knots in there. Make sure it doesn't fall. And then what I'm going to do is cut the ends of the strings long enough to go back in and be glued inside. So let me just show you what it's going to look like, hopefully. So once we get that, I'm going to glue these down first so that this will be nice like that. And then this will be all glued together. So let me take off the binder clips since we have it bound. I don't need those anymore. And I'm just going to take a little bead of glue right along the inside before I glue the whole thing down to get all of those ends in. So I'm just spreading the glue over the ends to keep them up and nice and straight where I want them. Okay, and then I'm going to just use my stick glue here because I think I'm going to end up covering the back of this with one of the pattern pages as well. So I'm just going to put some glue on the flap and around the bottom here to get started. Yeah. And there we have it. So you can see we have a nice little dangle at the bottom here. So when you close it, nice little dangle. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little piece of some of the leftover papers that I had. I can find where I put them. And just cover this up so it'll be white on this side. And let's see what page looks, I think I like this blue in here in the middle. I think I have a smaller one that might fit. Let's see. Yep. So I'm just going to make a couple of pencil marks real quick and leave a little, just leave a little bit of room. Where did I put my pencil? Oh, here it is. I probably should be doing this on the other side. And then I can trim this down and we'll get that covered. Where are the marks? All right. So we're going to glue this down just like that. And you can still see that mark. I knew I should have done it on the back side. Okay. And get some glue on here. And there we go. Now we have our nice booklet. And I think we're almost done. So we've got a little glassine paper in there. And we have our middle page, which hides our binding. And there it is. And I think for these, I'm going to use a little closure like this, because I kind of like the way this works. So It'll be fast and easy. I was thinking about putting something around to tie it because I do like the look of that as well. But if this is something that's going to be in somebody's purse, they're going to want to get to it quick. And I thought this would be an easy way just to keep it all together. So I'm going to bind the other one and I will be right back and show you the end result of both of them. All right, we are all done. And so I just wanted to show you how they turned out. So first let's do this one. You can see I have a little ladybug charm on the bottom here, held by a binder clip. And we'll just do a quick little flip through. I did end up putting 2 little cards in some of the pockets, not all of the pockets, just to give my friend an idea of how to use the notebook. Not everybody gets these crazy notebooks that have all these different pockets and things. So here's another pocket, and here's our middle page that hides all of the binding that we did. Another pocket over here, and a lot of blank pages for her to write in, do whatever she wants there. You can turn the page. And then I did put a card in this little side of the glassine envelope there. I thought that was cute. And that is the end of that one. And the other one, while it looks a little bit different, it is really just the same. So once again, I added a couple of cards for her as well. And there's lots of different pages in here too. And this was how the glassine bag turned out on this one. I think it turned out nice. And the different pages in here. And our middle with our pockets there. And our middle page that hides the binding. And I added a little card that says grow on that side. And our last pocket, and she has a little key charm there. So there we go. I can't wait to give these to my friends for their birthday, and I hope you enjoyed watching it and you're inspired to go do some